Hey everyone, and welcome back. You sent in this material on how to stop overthinking and just take action, and wow, it really caught my attention. It's from this podcast. They call it the mindset shift, and man, they get straight to the point.
Yeah, it is really interesting how they set up the whole problem. I mean, we always hear, "Oh, you just got to be motivated," right? But this episode says that's not really it. It's more like we overthink things and we're just afraid to fail.
Yeah, we've all been there, right? You
Yeah.
get this great idea, or you have like this passion for a goal you want to achieve, but then what happens? You get stuck in this loop.
Uh-huh.
Thinking, what if this happens, or what if the worst thing happens? And man, it can really make you feel stuck.
Absolutely. And the thing is, overthinking can look like so many different things. Sometimes it's like you need everything to be perfect. And so you wait for the perfect moment to start. Or, maybe you just get stuck researching and planning so much that it's overwhelming. And of course, there's always that fear of failing that just stops us from doing anything. Yeah. And the episode quotes Tony Robbins, and I thought this line was so powerful. It says, "The path to success is to take massive, determined action." You know? It's like a reminder that sometimes you just have to go for it.
Right. And, they really make it clear that it's not about having all the answers before you start. It's all about just taking that first step, even if it feels really small.
Mhm.
And they even talk about this strategy. They call it the 2-minute rule to help you do that.
Okay. Now I'm really interested. So what is this 2-minute rule?
Well, it's like really simple. If you can do something in less than 2 minutes, just do it right. Then don't even give yourself time to think about it.
Mm.
And, if you have like a bigger goal in mind, break it down and just say, I'm going to work on this for 2 minutes to start, like just 2 minutes.
I can kind of see how that could really work. So is the idea to kind of trick your brain into just getting started?
Yeah, that's part of it. Our
Yeah.
brains, they like to save energy. So when you take those small actions, it's like you're shifting from, just sitting there to actually getting some momentum going.
Hmm. It makes me think of that saying like objects in motion tend to stay in motion. Once you get the ball rolling, it's easier to keep it moving, right? Like they talk about Jeff Bezos, right?
Yes, exactly. They talk
Yeah.
about how, Amazon didn't start as this huge company. It started with him selling books online
Yeah.
right from his garage. And it's just such a good example of how those consistent small steps can turn into something really amazing.
Yeah, and it's a good reality check too, because nobody starts with a perfect product or a perfect business or whatever it is. The key is to just start, even if it seems small at the time.
You got it. And that's where the 2-minute rule can really be so powerful because it helps you get over that first hurdle of not doing anything.
So, like, how can we actually use this in our own lives? What kind of things can we do that fit into that 2-minute thing?
Oh, well, think about those little things you always put off, like replying to a quick email or making a short phone call or adding something to your to-do list. I mean, those are all things you can just knock out in under 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, and I bet doing those little things can actually, like, start to change how you think about things, right? You start to feel like you're getting stuff done and you have more control.
That's exactly it. Instead of feeling like you're drowning in this giant list of things you should be doing,
Yeah.
you're actually like taking action and getting some momentum going. And it's interesting. There's actually like a psychological thing going on here.
Okay, tell me more.
So it's called the Zygarnik effect, basically.
Yeah.
It means our brains, they remember the things we haven't finished way better than the things it's like that feeling you get when you leave something undone.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling way too well. So you're saying that by finishing even those tiny 2-minute tasks, it's like giving our brain a little reward, and then we have more space to focus on other things.
You got it. And it's not just about like clearing the clutter. It's about like training your brain to see that taking action is a good thing.
Mhm.
You start to see yourself as someone who gets things done. And that can really change how motivated you feel overall.
That's so cool. So it's not just about the individual tasks themselves, it's about like the big picture impact on our mindset and habits, right?
Exactly. It's about building this like positive feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
The more you do, the more motivated you get, and the more you achieve. It's like a snowball effect.
Right. And that episode of the mindset shift, they really drive home this idea of like shifting away from waiting to feel motivated and instead focusing on creating momentum. That's such a powerful idea.
It really is, and it makes us think differently about how we go after our goals, right? Instead of waiting for the perfect moment or that burst of inspiration, we can choose to just take action right now.
I'm curious, did they have any specific advice on how to use this 2-minute rule for bigger, more complicated goals? Because let's be real, not everything can be done in 2 minutes.
They said it's really important to break down those bigger goals into smaller steps,
Yeah.
things you can actually manage. And then you guessed it, use the 2-minute rule for those smaller steps.
Oh, okay. So like if you want to write a book, you could say, okay, I'm just going to brainstorm ideas for 2 minutes, or I'm going to spend 2 minutes outlining a chapter.
Exactly. You're making it easier to get started by focusing on these like bite-sized actions.
Sure.
You're basically outsmarting yourself,
Yeah.
that part of you that wants to resist.
I love that it takes away all the pressure of trying to do the whole project at once, which can be so overwhelming. Instead you're just saying, okay, what's the first tiny step I can take?
Right. And you know what's really cool? A lot of times, once you start those 2 minutes, you just want to keep going.
Oh, totally. You get in the zone and suddenly like an hour has passed and you didn't even realize it.
Exactly. That's
Wow.
the magic of momentum.
Yeah.
And even if you only do those 2 minutes, you still made progress.
Yeah.
You've broken that cycle of not taking action, and that's a win in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of wins, think back to the Jeff Bezos example starting Amazon from his garage. It's like proof that you can start small and build something huge over time. And, this all ties back to you directly. This whole deep dive is for you. So think about your own goals. What's that one thing you've been wanting to do, but you keep putting it off?
Yeah.
Maybe it's starting that side project or learning a new skill or finally cleaning out that closet. Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in like the big picture of it all and feel overwhelmed. But this idea of just taking that first little step is so powerful.
Yeah, it really is. And that's what this whole mindset shift episode is all about. Giving you the power to take control and make things happen. They actually have a challenge at the end that I think would be perfect for you.
Oh, I love a good challenge. So what is it?
They challenge you to pick one goal you've been putting off and then say, okay, I'm going to take the smallest step I can towards it in the next 24 hours.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
It takes away all the excuses. There's no waiting for motivation or the perfect time. It's just making a decision and doing something.
Exactly. And remember, it doesn't have to be anything huge. It could be as simple as writing down your goal or sending an email or doing 5 minutes of research, anything to get things moving.
I think the main takeaway here is that it's not about how big the action is. It's about changing how you think about it. It's about proving to yourself that you can do something even if it feels small.
Absolutely. And once you feel that sense of accomplishment, even if it's a small one, it creates this ripple effect.
Yeah.
It builds your confidence, makes you feel more motivated, and then it's easier to take the next step and the next one and so on.
They end with this really interesting question. They ask, what if instead of waiting to feel motivated, we focused on creating momentum through these consistent small actions?
Yeah. It's a whole different way of thinking,
Right.
right? Instead of being controlled by how we feel, we become the ones who control our own progress.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. It's amazing how just one podcast episode can give us so many ideas and strategies for taking action.
It just shows you that sometimes all we need is a little push, a new way of looking at things, and the right tools to break free from those old habits of overthinking and procrastinating.
I think you've definitely given us plenty of those little pushes today. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. And to you listening, remember, you have the power to make change happen. Start small. Stay consistent and watch how things start to build.
It's been great diving in with you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep taking action.